In a recent interview with French publication Phototrend and Sigma France, Sigma said that the public reception to the APS-C lenses was very good. But will we see full-frame lenses in 2025? Is Sigma completely free to make any lens they want? And in our second story, it looks like Canon will indeed make the Canon EOS R3 Mark II. But the big question is, why would they? And would you want it? But before we get to the details, please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything, helps this channel grow, and keeps you up to date on the latest camera coverage. Everybody loves a new lens, I know I certainly do. So let's go ahead and start off with our first story about an interview with Sigma France and Phototrend. Are you only making APS-C lenses for the RF mount? Sigma responds, indeed, we're only concerned with the APS-C mount at the moment, but all the APS-C lenses that we announced in 2024 will be delivered by January of 2025. Clear as mud, right? It's pretty much like every other Sigma statement when they're talking about something that they can't talk about. Do you remember this one here when the CEO said that Sigma's trying their best to make RF mount lenses? Trying their best? What did they mean by that? And of course, while Sigma was making these kinds of statements, Canon was making other vague statements that led us to believe that the mount was, in fact, open when it wasn't. But going back to the Sigma announcement back in April of 2024, all those lenses, according to Sigma, will be delivered by January of 2025. And that leaves the opportunity for Sigma to announce additional lenses ahead of CP Plus in Japan in February. So, could we see full-frame lenses like the 24-70, the 70-200mm, and of course the very popular 150-600mm? Well, Phototrend has another try at asking Canon, is it Canon that decides which lenses are available to the RF mount, and do they do this on a case-by-case basis? Foucault responds, from what I know, the mount is open from the first moment the agreements are signed. After that, there might be a calendar of which we're not aware of. Once again, as clear as mud, right? There might be a calendar that we're not aware of? The statement indicates that there might be a roadmap in which Sigma is only allowed to produce certain lenses, perhaps full-frame lenses, or particular lens type at a given scheduled event, at a particular point in time. But Foucault isn't aware of this. Yeah, I thought that was a little bit strange as well, to bring up the whole idea of some sort of roadmap. Now, the interviewer at Phototrend didn't bring that up. That's Sigma bringing that up. Bringing up the whole idea that there might be some sort of roadmap at which Sigma is allowed to produce certain lenses, such as APS-C at the beginning, and then full-frame lenses. So why bring that up if they're not aware of it? It's kind of like you ever had somebody ask you a question and say they're asking for a friend when you know they're asking for themselves? Or for somebody at, let's say, a camera store or a retailer to say, yeah, there might be a really major camera announcement coming up very, very soon, and it could be for Canon, but I haven't heard anything. Sigma, they often give us more questions than they give us answers. But you might be, and this is the last big question in that interview. Then they go off talking about other questions not related to the RF mount. But the next big question is all related to how well did these APS-C lenses that were announced in April, how well are they performing? Sigma responded, the welcome was very positive. As we know, at Canon, the RFS range is composed of very entry-level housings, but also expert housings. And there are no expert RFS optics at Canon. Thus, when we offer the EOS R7 user a 10-18mm f2.8 DCDN or the 18-50mm f2.8 DCDN with a beautiful made-in-Japan manufacturing process, success is immediate. Yeah, not very subtle, is it? I mean, what Sigma's saying is, look, we build really high-quality lenses with very well-designed housings, enclosures, optics, and that are faster and wider than Canon's lenses when they do make them for, well, a fraction of the price. Sigma is very proud to be making RFS lenses, and I hope really soon we start to get some full-frame lenses. Now, we did see with Nikon on the Z mount, it took about a year of producing APS-C lenses by Sigma for the Z mount before we started to see full frame lenses. So, with the announcement back in April of 2024 for 5 APS-C lenses, we might have to wait until April 2025 before we could see some full frame lenses. But the one thing is quite clear here. All those lenses that were announced by Sigma, well, they're performing very, very well. And what that means for you and I is we're going to see more lenses for Canon's RFS mount for APS-C cameras and for the RF mount for full frame cameras, which is definitely good news. But now it's time to revisit the Canon EOS R3 Mark II. Yeah, you heard me. It looks like Canon is actually serious about making a successor to the R3. We've been told by someone that would be privy to such information that there is a plan to continue the 3 series after the EOS R3 has run its course. Okay, someone is hardly a trusted source, but their source did provide a date, which is not 2025, as was the previous rumor for the EOS R3 Mark II. Q1 to Q2 of 2026 was the exact quote that we received, though we weren't provided with the slide as we've been provided in the past. Putting aside the reliability of the source for a moment, both you and I realize that with the announcement of the Canon EOS R1, it doesn't really allow the EOS R3 Mark II to grow over its predecessor. The R1 has 24 megapixels, dual CF Express card slots Type B, cross-type autofocus points, and the same autofocus system as found in the EOS R5 Mark II. So will Canon deliver the same resolution found in the predecessor, 24 megapixels, and also give us the same card slots, one CF Express Type B and one SD card slot? That was one of the, how shall we say, feature sets that I thought was the most crippling. When the R3 came out, it was $59.99, and to get the same card slots as the R5 versus the, well, 1DX at the time, which had dual CF Express Type B card slots, and it was only separated by $500, didn't make a lot of sense to me. At that price point, it should have gotten dual CF Express Type B card slots. So if Canon once again gives it 24 megapixels and a single CF Express Type B card slot, the same autofocus system found in the R1 and the R5 Mark II, and of course with the same autofocus system we get that Digic accelerator chip, what's the dividing point between the R5 Mark II and the R1 with the autofocus system? Well, simply put, it's on the sensor. It's that cross-type autofocus points. When I look at these two cameras, I really have trouble trying to figure out what the price would be and how the R3 Mark II would differentiate over the R3 to get people to buy it. Now, I could see a much lower price point if they go in and say, let's say, I don't know, this is really hard to do, with $42.99 for the R5, but let's say they do something like $4,500 and give it a single CF Express Type B card slot, but they give it that new autofocus system with cross-type autofocus. Well, then for all the people that can't afford the R1, this is a good compromise. But I think it's targeting a rather small market, which is already a small market to begin with. I think what makes a whole lot more sense is, instead of the R3 Mark II, come out with an R1X or an R1S or some other variant of what we have in the current R1. The R1 is a sports fast action photography type camera. It's got 24 megapixels, and everything about that camera is to produce low noise, get the shot, and get it right the first time to deliver a high hit rate. But what Canon could do, because Nikon's already done this in the Z9, here's what I think Canon could do. Deliver a 45 megapixel sensor, like the Nikon Z9. The R5 Mark II, despite being a really terrific camera, an incredible wow camera when it comes to video and very good for stills, it's still a bit of a compromise. Coming out with an R1 variant with 45 megapixels that takes away or addresses all those compromises, dual CF Express Type B card slots, much faster readout speed, maybe coming out with a new sensor that's both, how shall we say, that delivers rolling shutter and global shutter capabilities in the same frame. And if you think I'm crazy here, if you think I'm talking nonsense, well, Nikon filed a patent earlier this summer and just recently published it, which can do exactly that. You see, Nikon is thinking outside the box here. They were able to deliver a sensor that has a fast readout and produces really good results. Canon decided to go the other way to address the concerns and wants of their traditional fast action sports photographers. And this is an opportunity for Canon to rethink what they were planning for the R3 Mark II, and maybe just think of a camera that sits alongside the R1, one that's really aimed at, well, photographers, sports and fast action photographers, and the other one that's aimed at, well, photographers that want to shoot wildlife and other capabilities that need a higher resolution, with more dynamic range, less noise, dual Safe Express Type B card slots, cross-type autofocus. All those handicaps, sorry, not handicaps, design decisions that were in the R5 Mark II that were compromises to protect the R1. You see, if Canon did that, somebody like me might look at that camera and think, wow, I'd really like to get that. But seeing the huge price difference would hold back, protecting the 5 series and the R5 Mark III when it comes out in almost 4 years. To come out with an R3 Mark II that has another 24 megapixel sensor, a single CF Express Type B card slot, an autofocus system same as that's in the R5 Mark II, but without the cross type, I know, Brian, for example, you'd be happy with this new camera, but other than a handful of people that would be interested in this, I would like to see something a whole lot better. And with Canon announcing the R3 at a price of $59.99, it does scare me a little bit as to the price of the R3 Mark II. Even when that camera came out, I said, $59.99 for this camera based on what we expect to see in the R5 Mark II and the R1 just seems a little bit, well, overpriced. But what do you think? Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. On the other hand, the EOS R3 Mark I can be had for $44.99, a $1,500 discount over its release price. The R5C Mark I, $33.99, also significantly discounted. And another camera like the R3 that has people wondering if we'll see a refresh as well. And of course, if you find $42.99 a bit too expensive for the R5 Mark II, you might want to consider the EOS R5 Mark I, $28.99, $1,000 off its release price. And even in 2024, late 2024, and I own both cameras, I gotta say, I still think it's a highly capable camera. And if you're interested in purchasing any of the cameras that I talked about in this video, well, consider using my affiliate links down below. But I could go on for almost half an hour. There's so many sales from Canon and Nikon, from the very entry level, such as the Z30, the Z50, or the R50 and the R100, all the way up to their top end cameras that if you're still shooting with a DSLR, you'd see a huge improvement by going to these cameras over what DSLR you currently have. So consider that. However, if you do use my links down below, I do get anywhere from 2 to 5% back as a commission. You don't have to pay anything extra. You don't have to put in any codes, fill out any forms. The links take you directly to B&H and Adorama. And a big thanks to those of you that have done it in the past, because that's what's keeping the lights on. That's what allows me to produce this channel. And it's what's allowed me to, up until this point, completely ignore wanting to use any of those, what do they call it, collaboration partnerships with Squarespace and others. Every day now I'm getting somebody saying, hey, would you like to put in a 30-second, 60-second, and 90-second ad at the beginning? Not at the end, which is where I talk about the affiliate links, but right at the beginning. And I really don't like the sound of it. Most of the products too have nothing related to really what you use as photographers and videographers. And I don't know if you pay YouTube a monthly fee so you don't have to watch ads, but I know I do. And there's nothing worse than paying that fee, then having to watch a 30 to 90-second spot. I just find it really irritating. So I have no plans on doing that. A big thank, and you can thank everybody that has purchased using my affiliate links. And I understand if you're not in the United States or Canada, then you won't be able to use this. And by all means, support your local camera store. Even I order through my local camera store instead of B&H and Adorama, because these guys, they provide us with great support, great prices, and a great inventory where we can walk into the store, take something, put it in our hands, get a feel for it, try it out, and then purchase it. And I really love that experience. So I do appreciate everybody using my affiliate links, but don't forget to support your local camera store. Anyhow, that's it for now. I hope you're having a great week. Don't forget, on October the 30th, we have a big Canon lens announcement. And then, of course, the day after, it's Halloween and Profusion here in Toronto on November the 6th and 7th. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great day, a great week, and we'll see you again soon.